What's up, everybody? Welcome to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hadfield. Joining me this week is Justin Davis.
Scoop.
Sam Claiborne.
Hey, everybody.
And Seth Macy is joining us today.
Hi.
Always a pleasure from the great state of Maine.
Likewise. Thank you.
Whole different time zone.
He's simulating Seth Macy while playing Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yes.
Have you been playing Microsoft Flight Simulator?
I've been playing a lot of Microsoft.
The question
Flight
is, has he been doing anything else?
I know.
That's
took a picture.
The problem.
Seth, you need to show through the picture of the office that you showed some of us. He flew over the office. It's got the awning. It's like our actual building. It's insane.
Seriously?
Yeah.
It's built out San Francisco, though?
I'm dropping it into the Slack chat now, and you can see.
That we'll look at it after the show. We've got a great show for you this week. We're going to talk about a surprise new G.I. Joe game that just got announced. We're going to talk about a new show that's coming to Netflix very soon that should be relevant to your interests, listeners and viewers. But first, the big news this week, the shocking news this week, is that Halo Infinite has been delayed out of the Xbox Series launch window into 2021. Xbox Series X has lost its big launch exclusive, what would have been its killer app, what could have been one of the biggest launch games of all time. Who would like to begin? Sam, what did you make of this news?
I mean, I'm a Xbox person. I'm playing most of my games on Xbox right now, and it's not because I really like that system better than the other system. It's just like, I don't know, just decided to go with it, and I'm gonna go with it again. But I don't know what I'm gonna be playing on my Xbox this fall.
I mean, you can play Cyberpunk and Assassin's Creed Valhalla on it.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's the more powerful system, right? So, like, I still want the more powerful system. That's the thing I want for Cyberpunk, for example. And if all things are equal, then I want it for Assassin's Creed and like the other third-party games. So I do know I'm going to play those games. But if it comes out, like we got some news this week that it might come out a little bit earlier than we thought. Like there's
earlier in November.
Yeah, there's these release dates on like packaged controllers. It's in November 6th. Like if there's like a month lead on everything else, and I guess Cyberpunk could still be out in that window, but I might be really we'll see. I don't know. It's very confusing, but I'm definitely not going to wait to purchase one. I'm still one this fall.
Well, I think you also play most of the Halo games too. So were you bummed about are you just bummed that you're not getting a Halo game this year?
You know what? I've seen a lot of takes about, how Halo, it'll end up better and like maybe it'll help the staff not crunch and stuff like that. For me, like Halo is a fall game, and like just like everything else was gone, I'd really like to be playing Halo for the fall. That's what I want to do. When things get chilly outside, I want to play a Halo game. Just like how much I want to watch the Lord of the Rings movies then, or go trick or treating, right? Like that's the season. So it seems a little that purely narrow like vibe of Halo, missing out on that, it stinks. As a launch game, it'd be really cool too.
Yeah, Justin, what'd you think?
I think it being, AAA games get delayed all the time, right? Like, Zelda, anything, there's no game that's too big. Cyberpunk was delayed twice. Last of Us was delayed. So that part is, it's not surprising, especially given how the game's reception was, in its big gameplay reveal. It's kind of like unfair as I may personally have found that. The part that does surprise me is what you were saying about it being a launch game. Like, that is a multi-million-dollar decision to move that game out of the Xbox One X's launch. Like, they have to, we don't know what their marketing plans were, but surely all of their commercials revolved around Halo. There's probably a Halo special edition, Xbox or controller. There's probably like the whole thing, most likely, and maybe I'm wrong, but it probably all hinged around Halo. And so that's the part to me that's like really eye-popping. Like, I don't think any game is too big to be delayed, especially a game that's going to be around for years and years. But like, man, they're going to launch that console without Halo? Like, I don't know. To be fair, we don't know the launch lineup. We don't know what else they have up their sleeve, but gosh, better be something.
Yeah. Seth, what'd you think?
I think that's a huge bummer. That was the thing that I was looking forward to the most. My kids were looking forward to Halo the most.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, they love Halo.
His kids helped with our coverage. I threw some questions at them, like in the moment. What was I asking about? It was like,
you're asking it like it was some lore stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, those are from the planet Anukai, and they, he just
and then
he
sprint.
Just knows.
Does it have a sprint button or an equipable thing? And an instant answer.
And he knew it is. Yeah, he's an expert on Halo. We had that like 3,000 piece Mega Bloks Scarab set that took about 12 hours to put together. big Halo family. We come together, and it's a little sad. I think a lot of people who were sort of on the fence are like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to go Xbox this fall because of Halo, are now like, I'm going to go PS5. So I think this was a real tough.
I completely agree, Seth. Like, as someone, like, I'm going to buy both consoles, so I'm platform agnostic, but a lot of people are not, and like I see this as kind of like a tipping point. Like, if people are like maybe leaning Xbox, or like, I don't know, the One X looks pretty cool. Like, I think it's going to lose. Like, this is going to sell PS5s, in my opinion.
It's basically like PlayStation 5 and a good lineup again versus the more powerful system. I don't know if that matters. Like, the lineup seems like I've always like been all about the games. Like, the games are really, really important. And if you have Spider-Man, and we got some news on Spider-Man today that it has like a full standalone story for Miles Morales, like, that alone seems like a really cool launch game. Who knows what other launch games they'll have. It's a big deal. Also, I think Halo looks great.
Yeah.
I liked how it looks. And if it really is not being released because people complained about it, I think that's kind of sad.
I agree. It's an open world game, and they're held to a different graphical standard than games where the team has complete control over the environment and what direction the player is moving and where enemies come from where. Like, it's a different thing.
Yeah,
it felt like cool, like purple and weird Halo. Like, it just looks cool. I can't wait to play a Halo game that looks like Halo again, and this is it.
Yeah. But I gotta say, I'm still playing Ghosts of Tsushima, and I continue to be just absolutely stunned at how beautiful that game is.
Yeah.
So, I would really expect Halo to be at least that impressive.
It does strike me as, we talked about this on the show maybe 2 weeks ago, how like launch games don't really look next gen, and it like takes a little while. And like it does strike me as a game that, like, when we're at the end of next generation, we'll look back on Halo Infinite and be like, huh. Like,
totally.
There's very little there that like couldn't be done on the last gen consoles, and in fact, that game is going to have a last gen version. So, well, maybe not that it's delayed another year. So
we haven't seen the haiku sections of Halo yet.
Also true. Are you suggesting that Summoner could have been a PS1 game?
Fantavision.
Yeah, I haven't taken a look at Killzone Shadowfall recently, but that probably wouldn't look too impressive today. That's an interesting thought that you just mentioned, Justin. If they take the next year to just make it a full Xbox Series X game and add ray tracing, which it
I just misspoke. The game wasn't delayed a year, but it is delayed into next year. So
we don't have a launch window, but in that case, Xbox One users would all be losing a Halo game. So it's just kind of they're in a tough spot.
It's also, Microsoft is really, really, really leaning on Xbox as like a platform, and like all these games are PC games, all of them. And I have a gaming PC, so like, I don't know, maybe they kind of don't seem to care that much how many Series X consoles are sold. They're kind of just more about like, we want gamers in our ecosystem.
They stopped reporting
that's
Xbox
a really good
One
point.
sales numbers years ago.
I should mention, like, Xbox, like, if they're not pushing Halo, they're going to push subscriptions, right? They want people to have access to a bunch of games through subscription service. Like, that's actually a good competing point for PlayStation. So if you can say, like, with your Xbox and a subscription, you get this many games, that is cool. I think that's really cool.
It's unbelievable that you can plunk down. I don't know what the first month costs. Like, there's deals for.
What if they give 3 months away or something, right? Like, we don't know.
Yeah,
if you've never signed up before, you can get it for $1 at the Microsoft.
$1. There you go. Deal.
You get the entire history of first-party Microsoft games ever. I think that, like, it doesn't have like Blue Dragon. Like, that's it.
Wow.
It's got all the rest of them, and like they're just there. Like, it's such a game changer. And I know we've ranted about it on this show before, but it's like it's such a good deal, but it's hard to like. That's hard. Like, that's not as flashy as like Miles Morales, right? Like, it's not as flashy as like a big new AAA game.
Yeah, that's true. It's an incredible deal, but it's not new, as you say.
So you guys have all come around. You're all now back on the Xbox train, right?
I never left.
I actually don't like. I'm saying this I'm just nice about Xbox. I'm so excited for the PlayStation 5. Like, I'm extremely excited to play games on that system.
I find it aesthetically repulsive. So
it's really stupid looking. It's like brutally stupid looking. That's true.
Yeah,
I think the controller is cool.
The controller's nice.
They're just starting to become the same controller, though.
Oh, yeah.
All the edges are kind of like morphing, and all of a sudden they're just going to be like, same controller.
Good.
Yeah, sure.
Let's check in with the yappers.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say it.
That's not gonna catch on the same way. Okay, well,
No.
That's fine.
last week we've been talking about how we were testing this video commenting system on IGN, and last week put out a call to get some responses about the Spider-Man exclusivity in the PlayStation versions of Marvel's Avengers. This week we put out a call asking what people thought about the Halo Infinite delay, and this is something that we'll continue doing, a way to sort of get your faces and voices incorporated into GameScoop. So just be on the lookout for the articles that I link to in the Facebook group each week, which will explain how you can leave your video comment, get your voice on the show. So John, who's our producer working behind the scenes, let's roll that beautiful yap footage.
What's up, Omega Cops? My name is Jonathan. As far as the Halo Infinite delay is concerned, I think it's both a good thing and a bad thing. It's a bad thing because the Xbox Series X was going to have a killer app over the PlayStation, and now they don't have that at launch. It's a good thing because I'm reminded of Miyamoto's quote, where a game delayed is eventually good, and a rushed game is forever bad. Even in today's world with updates and things like that, that holds true. Anthem was a pretty bad game at launch, and it still really isn't that great. Even something like No Man's Sky, which eventually became something that is pretty cool, people like me played it at launch, don't really like it that much, and are turned off and just don't have time to go back to it, really don't want to. Halo Infinite wasn't going to have the features that people wanted, ray tracing and things like that. Now they can take the time to create the game that's going to be great forever. My name is Jonathan, and I'm out.
Oh,
Good.
I like that.
Yeah.
Just spoken
How
like
often
a
did
true.
you guys hear that Miyamoto quote recently, man?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah,
I never
everyone
heard that when
brings up.
Cyberpunk was delayed.
Well, like
I don't know
That
why it
quote-
popped up.
Yeah, that quote's always been true, but it feels particularly true like now that games want to have a multi-year long relationship with you, right? So it's like Halo Infinite, they're going to keep adding to it and updating it, and they've made it clear that it's not like a service game in the way that Destiny is, but like they want people coming back to this game forever and ever and ever. So it's like important to put that best foot forward at launch, even more so than a game that's sort of like fire and forget as a one-off.
They set a dangerous precedent by naming it Infinite, because now it has to go on for all of recorded time.
Yeah.
They don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember what game Miyamoto was referring to when he originally made that quote?
Yeah, I
Was it
just looked it up.
Was it Ocarina of
right?
Time?
Yeah, it was the launch of the Nintendo 64, which got delayed by 3 months to afford his team time to finish their vision. So whatever launch games it was.
Would have been Mario 64 and Pilot Wings, I believe.
And Pilot Wings did become
And Wave
perfect. It was
Race.
perfect at launch. Yeah.
Also perfect at lunch. Play Pilot Wings
perfect at
64.
lunch.
All right, we've got one more. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Borba has asked us to pause.
Okay, roll the next one.
Hey, IGN, Ross Miller in California here. So the official reason Microsoft gave for this delay was that it's due to COVID. But I think a lot of us are kind of assuming this has to do with the backlash about the graphics in that presentation. So the question I have is, can they really meet people's next-gen expectations while still developing for the Xbox One? So what I'm wondering is, are they using this delay to revamp the game and make it a Series X exclusive and really satisfy those demands? What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's kind of what we were discussing a little bit earlier. It's just like it would be really tough because all those existing Xbox One users who, for whatever reason, wouldn't be upgrading, they'd be losing that game.
Responses are really good.
Yeah, there's a couple of points that he's making. One is like the fact that it is going to have a last gen version. Does it hold back their ability to truly go nuts with the next gen version, right? And like, I don't know. I think that's a completely valid perspective and point to have. I don't really know the answer, but it's something to consider and keep in mind. To the COVID point, I saw other people saying, "Oh, they're using that as an excuse," and I'm like, dude,
it is the excuse.
But like, I don't see it as an excuse. Like, it completely it makes everything you do harder. Like every aspect of everybody's job, even at IGN, and we're not doing anything as complex as making a big AAA game, is much more complicated and challenging. And the same, accomplishing the same work and doing the same thing takes longer.
Absolutely. Not an excuse. It's a reality.
Yeah.
Yep.
We also got an old-fashioned email about this very topic from Brett Perry in Salt Lake City. Says, with the recent news of Halo Infinite being delayed and it having the potential to have been one of the best launch titles in years, I was wondering what your favorite launch titles were for each generation. My favorite launch game of all time, this is Brett Perry's, is Resistance: Fall of Man, which would have been a PS3 game, and I'm a little bit surprised to hear.
Yeah.
No, you just don't hear about that game a lot.
No,
I liked Resistance 2 a lot.
They made
Those
3
were
of them, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Insomniac.
You know what's crazy is that I always think of, when I'm thinking back now, I think of like my most disappointing console launches, because like the nobody's ever really matched the original Nintendo run of Mario's at launch. Like it's just never gotten as good as that, and that's really tough. I mean, I think if I have to think of the most recent launch game I liked, it was like Twilight Princess on Wii. It was just really cool to have that at launch, and then Breath of the Wild and Switch. Like those are really cool. Nintendo usually nails it. But boy, have they screwed that up before, though. DS, oh my gosh. They had nothing for DS at the time. It was like this.
There was Ridge Racer. You controlled the
Ridge Racer for DS.
Pack picks.
Yeah. You controlled the steering with the stylus.
most launches are bad. Way more of them are bad than good. It takes like a year.
Yeah, 360 had a rough launch.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson's King Kong.
Yeah.
On Blue
Perfect
HD
Dark,
DVD.
Cameo. Yes, and then tons of HD DVDs. Yes.
I still got a whole bunch in the basement.
Do you really?
I bought the add-on. Yeah, I was all in on HD DVD.
Those cases are hot.
You don't have to keep them. You're allowed to get rid of them.
No, you can't get rid of them.
No, you can't. You're bound. It's a curse.
Without a Bookman's nearby, there's no way.
It's an obvious answer, but it's like Mario 64, right? It's like the greatest launch game of all time. That and Breath of the Wild.
And I mean, Mario World is also
a
good contender. So it's like Nintendo really knew what they were doing.
What were the PlayStation 1 and 2 launch games?
Nobody knows.
So one would have been
I don't know.
Two had Time Splitters.
Time Splitters, that was a big one.
And Fantavision, the fireworks game.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's 2 Fantavision references this week.
Did it have like Parappa or something?
No.
There was a Rayman game that
No.
launched with the PlayStation 1. Ridge Racer, the original Ridge Racer launched with PS1.
Zoe's Ridge Racer in first.
I love the Ridge Racer franchise. I'm
really?
not afraid to admit. I was probably the best in the state of Maine. Ridge
Wow.
Racer. You could race those courses flawless.
Are there arcade games in America for Ridge Racer?
There were, yeah. I remember playing
Really?
sit-down cabinet Ridge Racer. Yeah.
Because I know they're all over Japan. I never thought of. Yeah, I can't think of seeing one.
I actually wrote a guide for Ridge Racer 2. If you look it up on Web Archive, you might be able to
Which system was that for?
That was for PlayStation 1.
Okay,
Whoa.
so it was like you wrote like a FAQ.
I wrote an FAQ.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is it on GameFAQs?
No, there wasn't a GameFAQs back then. This was like 1996.
Oh.
I wrote it on my own website
On
through
your
my
server.
dial-up ISP.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. That is really cool. I used to look up Mortal Kombat fatality codes on my parents both are university professors, and on their university internet, I would go on there and then they'd be like, don't look at these sections. There's like code at that time for like nudes, but it's all ASCII,
Yeah.
And then but they had a section for Mortal Kombat and other games, stuff like that. You go to the arcade with your printout and be like, oh boy.
Yeah. That's one of the very first things I remember ever using on the internet. I looked up Mortal Kombat fatalities, and then I looked up pictures of skydiving. So just people skydiving.
Wow.
I remember them telling me not to go in sections marked flame because that was people ranting, but they would probably have swears or something. I don't really know. Like that's not an internet term much anymore, but it was in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Like flame war, we know, right? That came from that. But boy, we don't say that anymore. Isn't that weird?
I was curious whatever happened to Ridge Racer. Seth, have you followed it?
The last Ridge Racer I remember playing was Ridge Racer 6, and I don't even remember if that was on PlayStation.
That would have been
3
2000. That's 2005 on 360.
Okay.
They just made one like 2 or 3 years ago, didn't they?
So
I'm
Ridge
not
Racer
sure.
Unbounded was 2012.
Heck yeah.
It was apparently a large departure and focused on vehicular combat like Burnout.
Yeah, see, I don't like that at all. I like the arcade style racing of the original first 2 and 3 Ridge Racer games. By the way, one of those Ridge Racer games' original website, they've never updated it, but they also never took it down. I can't remember which one it is, but it's out there.
I was going to call out. I would say this is up there. I would say tied with my first place nominations for best launch game of all time is Game Boy with Tetris. It was so amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I just didn't put it down for a decade. It's like what a cool match for the system. It came with a system, which is also something that launch games don't do anymore. It was a pack-in, and
unless you have Game Pass.
On the cover of the Game Boy, box, there's a original, Tetris screen, on the Game Boy that the robot hands are playing. It's so cool.
What about shout out to Wii Sports too?
Yeah, Wii Sports is great, and we didn't expect it to be. Right? Like it was like, oh, all these other systems are getting these like cool, perfect dark games and stuff like that. And then Wii Sports like started making the rounds, and then it was totally fun. And having friends over playing it was really, really, really great.
We all expected the Wii to be the death of Nintendo. That was absolutely the expectation, the vibe amongst the hardcore gamers and people that worked in this business. Like they've lost their mind. It was coming off of the third place GameCube, and that was it for Nintendo.
Yep. Seth, you nailed it, man. Their launch games for PlayStation, they're very, very sparse, and one of them is Ridge Racer.
Yeah,
and it looks really good. It's like a cool 3D game that nobody else would have had at the time.
It was mind blowing.
You know what another one is though that I wouldn't have expected? Rayman.
I said Rayman.
No, Seth
okay.
said that.
Thank you.
And there was a NHL like 96 maybe.
NBA Jam was on it too. Did you mention Wipeout? That was Europe only, which sucks because Wipeout was really cool and people like that here. Yeah.
What was the one where you're like a rabbit?
Where you're jumping straight up in the air.
Yeah. What was that called?
They put that on the PlayStation Classic.
Jumping Flash, right?
Yeah. I like that game. I don't know if that was a launch game, but I like it.
It was an early game, at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, go ahead.
Well, I was going to move us on, unless you got it. Okay.
No,
let's move on. Surprise game announcement that caught my eye. I believe it caught Seth's eye this week, but it probably didn't catch Sam's eye. Was G.I. Joe Operation Blackout, an all-new G.I. Joe game coming this year, October 13th, to Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Allows you to play as 12 characters across Team Joe and Team Cobra, which I was just informed is not a terrorist organization any longer.
No. They're Agents of Chaos.
There's an 18 mission campaign, single player campaign, with also local split screen co-op. And then there's a variety of PvP modes. The campaign's an original story based on the 80s comics, taking you to Cobra headquarters and the USS Flag. Confirmed playable characters include Duke, Snake Eyes, Cobra Commander, Destro, Roadblock, and Storm Shadow. And then the look of the game, if you saw the trailer, it kind of looks like Borderlands. Has sort of a cel-shaded look to it. I was very surprised. But then I learned who was making the game, and I was less enthusiastic. It's Game Mill, makers of such games as Nickelodeon Kart Racers 1 and 2, American Ninja Warrior, and Country Dance All-Stars.
Who could forget?
So I don't
and
know.
Also, you name your studio Game Mill. Just seems like you're just turning out.
I think Nickelodeon Kart Racers has like a good rep. It's like a good B tier kart racer. Yeah, I think so. No, I was never a G.I. Joe kid. I was a Ninja Turtles kid. Oh, there he is.
I couldn't tell if it was going to be Tiny Human or Big Cat.
Actually, it's more like a big human and Tiny Cat. But guys, Kingo is turning 1-year-old tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday.
1 year old.
You guys going to get a cool cake?
Yeah. Kim's making him a cake tonight.
I hope it's like R2D2 or something like that.
Not until you're 1. You can't podcast until you're 1. It's nap time. Nap time for Kingo. Yeah, I don't know, Seth. What you've got some G.I. Joe figures.
I do
around you there.
Is that also an old calculator?
Yeah, I got this at Goodwill. It's a calculator from 1976. I just knocked over all my G.I. Joes.
That is so cool.
Instruments TI 5100.
Can you hand that to me while you guys talk about G.I. Joe?
No, I love this calculator. These are G.I. Joe Classified series, and the art style is very, very reminiscent. Especially when I saw Snake Eyes, I realized this is probably tied into this new line of like 6-inch Joe figures that I adore and I love, and I collect them all like Pokemon.
Well, but if you like him so much, why don't you take him out of the box?
Well, because I only just took them out of the box. They sent them to me yesterday to show them off when we talked about it on NG.
But you will take the figures out of the plastic?
Maybe. I don't know. And then I have this special edition one that they didn't send to me that I bought on my own.
Wow.
And this bad boy was $40, and now it's $160 on eBay.
Good
Wait,
investment.
what's inside that? What's inside that?
This is a Snake Eyes. It's a special edition Snake Eyes. I mean, this is like, Sam's probably got records that have the same sort of like really great packaging. Like, look at that. I mean, how could I resist? And then hold on a second. Just vamp while I try to open this because it's, you know.
I got a package in the mail this week that I'm not going to open. I got the Lego NES set.
You did?
Yeah. And
Cool.
I was like, oh, this will be a great box to have on, if I ever have a desk again, it'll be great, right? It'll look really cool. And it's so big. It's bigger than a pinball back glass. I
didn't realize
it's
that.
a giant box. It is
Oh.
huge. It's 3 times the size of an NES box.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Does it have
it's like 4 feet by 3 feet.
Does it have a cool Snake Eyes charcoal
my
drawing?
goodness.
Wait, but what does that have to do with
this is the best
Snake
part.
Eyes?
Look at Snake Eyes. He's got his special packaging, and then he's got this weapons holder right here that's like it's made to look like it's ivory. All these sai, katana, ninja, axes, all the things that a ninja would want.
Everything a growing ninja needs.
I don't know this world of G.I. Joe, but has there ever been a good G.I. Joe game? Because I've played 2 pretty
Yes, the
stinky
NES
ones.
The
There's 2
NES
NES.
game was good. The first one, I don't know about the second one, but the first one is actually underrated. It's a good, fun sort of game.
And Sam, I showed you the Konami arcade game. That looks really cool. It's where the camera's behind you and you're running.
Yeah.
It's like Space Harrier, that sort of view.
Really?
That's a good
The
idea.
running gun game where you're running into the screen. It's
Yeah,
really,
that should
really,
have
it's
gotten
cool.
home console ports.
That's a cool one. So Seth, what do you think of this game?
I mean, I was really excited until you took the wind
Sorry.
out of my sails by being like, this is from the makers of, what is it, Country Line Dance Simulator?
Country Dance All Stars.
Yeah.
What is that? I'm really curious what that
Must
is.
be like a Just Dance, but dance into like. But it probably is line dancing.
Okay. Hey,
Yeah,
I don't want to
I
yuck anybody's yum.
I like the look of it. It sounded fun. You know, the co-op, our local co-op is something that's exciting and thrilling to me. I like the cell shading style of it. This definitely looks like a $39.99 game just from like all I've seen of it so far. But hey, I like that.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe this is the game Mill has always wanted to make, and they've been biding their time, making kart racers and American Ninja Warrior, and now they're like, finally, this is our Halo.
We've talked a lot about this show, lamented the death of the single A game, and it may be a little generous to call this single A. Maybe it's like a B+ game, but like that middle, you either get shovelware crap or you get, big, unbelievable AAA experiences, and there's not much in the way of that middle ground anymore. And G.I. Joe seems to slot nicely into that, in my opinion.
I'm hopeful.
Do you guys think Bionic Commando is the best G.I. Joe game of all time?
No. I'm going to tell you right now. I told Max this. Metal Gear Solid 5 is the best G.I. Joe game.
Oh, that's a good one.
You have
that is
action figures and vehicles and bases. And
that's pretty good.
Yeah, love that game.
I love that game.
Maybe it's time for me to get into G.I. Joe toys.
Yeah.
There's a really cool sandbox out back of my house, and I've been wanting to have an excuse to just get in there.
They're re-releasing all the vehicles from the original 3 1/4 inch or 5/8 inch line. So,
what about that giant aircraft carrier?
The USS Flag? Only the 5 richest kings of Europe had that.
Yeah, are they re-releasing that?
No, they're not re-releasing that one.
Okay,
no,
because I'm aware of that.
A 7-foot toy. Like I only knew one kid. He lived like in a house on the hill.
Yeah, that's how big the NES Lego box is.
It's 7 feet tall.
Yeah, I saw the packaging for that. I think it folds in half and then it goes in a big box.
Yeah,
I think that's how it was sold.
I've never seen one in real life. It's always been my dream to see the USS Flag in real life. Someday, I'm gonna make it there.
Your dream is just to see it?
See it?
You don't even want to own it?
No, I don't know.
You're gonna have to go to a G.I. Joe convention, of which those exist.
I would super go. Yeah.
You could also. Do you think it floats?
No, it does not float.
Okay.
It is not.
That's good to know.
Because first of all, there's no bathtub that's 7 feet long anyway.
No, I was thinking a swimming pool.
Well, no, it does not float.
All right. Well, maybe that's our goal is to reissue this toy and make it an actual manageable boat.
If someone reissued that toy and let it float, it would make $10 million on Kickstarter.
Yeah, it would.
True.
It would.
It really would.
You'd have like a hashtag, make flag float.
Yeah.
As a PSA, I just searched to see if the G.I. Joe movie, the original animated G.I. Joe movie, was available to stream anywhere, and it is on Stars.
Oh,
So if you have Stars, you can stream.
There's a reason now.
Yeah, stream the G.I. Joe animated movie. I'm excited. I can finally tell you guys about an awesome new Netflix show that's coming soon on August 19th. If you watch The Toys That Made Us, which is very relevant to what we were just talking about, because there's a whole episode about G.I. Joe. Seth, did you watch that one?
I absolutely watched it, and Parker, my 12-year-old, watched it without even. He just decided he wanted to watch it and learn about toys, so he was obsessed too.
Well, so if you watched The Toys That Made Us and thought, man, they should really do a Games That Made Us, they did. It's not called that. It's called just High Score, but it's a documentary series coming to Netflix on August 19th that is just as good as The Toys That Made Us were. I watched the whole thing. It's 6 episodes, 6 like hour-long episodes, and they're all really, really good.
Are they about a single game or a company or a creator?
No,
or how
but each one has like a focus. So the first one starts in the very beginning with the creator of Space Invaders. And then they go through Pac-Man, and then the guys that made Miss Pac-Man in the U.S. They interview them. So cool.
Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah, sorry. And then episode 2 is all about Nintendo, starting with Donkey Kong and the rise of the NES. And then they interview Gail Tilden, who I believe was the 5th employee at Nintendo of America, and the person who launched Nintendo Power. Like that was her whole project. And they have this. She's like in the whole episode. It's amazing. And I think she's like a wine person now. She might live on a vineyard. Oh, nice.
That was Mike D. That's how he describes his career now.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a wine guy.
Did you watch the whole show, Damon?
Yeah.
The Dylan Cuthbert, they interviewed the Argonaut guys making Star Fox, and they were making it in some like weird closet at Nintendo, like off on their own. And they said that was the only area that Miyamoto was allowed to smoke in the whole building.
Cool.
And so he was constantly showing up. And like at that time in the 90s, he's quit smoking now. I don't know if this is true, but supposedly he was smoking like 60 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
And like, so they were always trying to work on something really cool and neat whenever he was like, oh, Miyamoto's back. He's smoking another cigarette back there.
Yeah, that's from the 6th and final episode about games going into 3D. So they talk a lot about Star Fox and then Wolfenstein 3D and Doom. And they interview John Romero about that stuff. Episode 3 focuses on graphical adventure games on computers. And they interview Roberta Williams from Sierra. Cool. So that's all really cool. Episode 4 is all about the console wars.
Sierra was based out of Arizona, one of the very few companies.
Could be. Episode 4 is about the console wars between Sega and Nintendo, and Thomas Kalinske is in the whole episode, former head of Sega of America, and he like writes out their whole like 6-point plan to take down Nintendo on a chalkboard the way they were thinking about it back in the day. It's awesome.
That's so cool.
And then episode 5 is about Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. So the whole thing is really, really cool. I loved it. It's out August 19th on Netflix, not Stars. Don't get that confused. They're Stars is where you go for G.I. Joe. Netflix is where you go for High Score.
Yep. I'll make a note of that and pin it to my TV.
Let's check in with the listeners.
Hey, listeners.
Listeners, remember you can always reach us at the email address gamescoop@ign.com, just like Tanner from Lakeville, Minnesota did. Tanner says, I've received emails from Atari touting their release of their new console, but I haven't heard much about it from IGN. What's going on with it? Is it another Ouya waiting to happen? For $400, it seems like it has to do something worthwhile, right? What would it have to do to stay afloat?
That Atari VCS is $400?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I know.
That's why you never announce your price before the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox.
$400 for a new Atari. They haven't announced any new games for it, as far as I can tell. They've announced that there's a Atari, a library of 100 Atari 2600 games you can play on it.
Oh boy!
Yeah,
over 1 megabyte of games.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with this. You can pre-order right now for $400, and you get guaranteed delivery by December 24th.
Oh,
perfect.
Oh, so there is a release date of delivery by December 24th. Is that the idea?
Yeah. Yep.
I saw this system, but it was not playable at E3. Or if it was playable, I think I watched somebody play it, and whatever was on that was playing was not the point of what I saw. But I just saw like a bunch of like plastic form factors, and they were all amazing because they look like they are something out of Blade Runner and hilarious, and have a cool Atari logo and have cool angles and wood grains and plastic and stuff like that. I mean, it's really cool looking. It's just I don't know what it's going to do. Do you remember that, Damon? Do you remember when I that was one of the weird E3 experiences too. This is common, I know, but I don't ever do these where you go to a hotel room and do the thing, do the appointment there. And it was like in a suite, and the suite had like the bed in it, which is always weird, right? And then like there's like the tables that you do in your desk that you do stuff at. And then on all of those was just Atari junk. And I just went from table to table. It's like, this is what the guts look like. This is a form factor that we 3D printed. And like this, they're all really nice, and it was interesting to see it, but
Yeah, it sounds shady to say you're meeting them at a hotel, but it's fairly common at shows like E3 and the Game Developers Conference. The developer will go to the show, but they're not buying a booth, so that just the only space they have to show you what they're showing you is their hotel room.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Trunk of a car. Hey, man.
Yeah.
Check this out.
And
that's Devolver that does that.
The trunk of the car.
Devolver has a big hit on their hands right now.
They so do, and they've had a couple of cool games this year and in the past couple of years. But man, Fall Guys is blowing up.
No, I'm not disparaging them. Their E3 presence is funny every year.
Oh,
yeah, it is.
I got to be honest. I played a couple rounds of Fall Guys by myself, and I was like, I don't really see it. But then my wife had heard about it, and she was interested. She wanted to see, and then she was totally into watching me play. She watched me play multiple games, and
because that's a backseat driving game too, right? You can just be like, do this, do this. No, do this better. Do this better.
Yeah, exactly. So after that, I had a better understanding of why people are digging it so much.
It's goofy.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you about this Atari 2600. It's $400. They haven't announced any new games for it.
There's also an Intellivision
Amico, but that one got delayed. Into next year.
That has games. I've played games on it.
Oh, well, that one has Earthworm Jim 4.
Oh. Yeah.
Really?
Really?
I didn't know that.
Earthworm Jim 4.
I want Earthworm. Wait, what was Earthworm Jim 3?
Well, maybe it is 3 actually. Whatever the next Earthworm Jim is.
I remember one in the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, there's probably some they probably made Earthworm Jim 3 for like the PS2, something weird.
It was probably Earthworm Jim 3D. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is Will from Jersey City. Says, "Hey, Omega Cops, I'm a longtime listener. I've never written in before, but I had to when I heard the crew talking about how there used to be ads in video games and how it seemingly went away." Seth, this is something we were talking about last week. Will says, "I work in advertising, and I might be able to explain why this form of advertising went away. The likely reason is that it simply didn't work compared to other types of ads. The consumer journey from seeing a Duracell ad in Alan Wake to purchasing batteries is pretty long. The player has to stop what they're doing, open their phone, or go to the store and buy some Duracell batteries over the cheaper store brand. By comparison, an ad placed on the IGN homepage is a much shorter consumer journey. The user clicks on the Duracell ad, and just like that, they can add it to their Amazon cart. There are probably other reasons why in-game ads were discontinued, but just wanted to give you the perspective of someone who gets paid to think about this stuff."
But how does that jive with like an ad in a magazine?
Exactly. I was also going to point out that although I'm not in advertising, I was of the understanding that brand awareness is almost as valuable as guiding them to make a purchase, right? Which is the reason why brands like Coke and McDonald's continue to advertise, even though they lead their industries. You got to keep up the brand awareness.
You can't buy something you don't know exists.
Yeah.
There was a company. Go ahead, Sam.
Well, this is really important, so I thought I'd cut in. Earthworm Jim 3D does exist. It was for the Nintendo 64. We did
64, man.
What did IGN give it?
I don't know if we would have reviewed it, huh? Well, let me check it out. We gave it a 6 out of 10.
6
All right. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Knowing nothing
also,
about it. That sounds
weirdly, Damon reviewed it.
No, I didn't.
We gave it a 7.3 out of 10 on the Nintendo 64, though. That was the PC score.
So
there was a huge company, an in-game advertising company, I want to say around 2001 and 2, when consoles were first connected to the internet, and it was using that technology to pump dynamic ads into your games that if you drove by a billboard in your racing game, the ad would like it would be Mountain Dew one day and would be a new movie like the next day, like in the same way banner ads work on the internet. And their whole thing was they had these really, really deep, sophisticated analytics of like they would know exactly how many frames and how long that ad was viewed by the player and like at how oblique an angle. So like the ad was taking up this percentage of the screen space and they went out of business. But it was like for a hot second, that was like the business in video games. And then,
yeah, I remember there was a PlayStation 1 game that was the first game I remember seeing ads, and I remember it being so novel that like magazines reported on. It was like a hover jet ski game. It might have been called Hover Jet Ski, and it had Mountain Dew ads in it, and it was extremely effective because I drink Mountain Dew all the time. But I remember that specifically as being like we were all like so amazed. We stopped to look like, oh, it's Mountain Dew. That's a real thing, and it's in this, hoverboard game.
We call that in-game ads. Like there's Pizza Hut ads in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 on NES last week when we were talking about this. But then I got thinking, and like first of all, there's entire games that are ads, right? Like they're just
McKids,
exactly, yeah, and 7-Up Spot. And those go back to interesting times with like Atari has this really cool rare game for I think it's Purina brand dog food called Chase the Chuck Wagon. Yeah. Which was like an ad which has like a little Conestoga wagon, covered wagon with like the dog chasing it in the kitchen. Like that's.
Do you remember those
Atari games about? I've seen it
TV?
Subsequently.
Yeah. I remember those like and loving them as a little kid. Like this tiny little. It made me want my parents to go out and buy Purina dog chow to have a tiny little wagon.
I would never buy anything but Purina. Yeah, and I don't have a dog.
Sam, have you seen the Kool-Aid game for Atari 2600?
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was like something you had to like. It was a magazine ad, and then you had to send in proof of purchase.
Yeah, Chase the Chuck Wagon was too.
Kool-Aid game.
I knew somebody who had the Kool-Aid game. That's probably like valuable now. Damn it!
You just reminded me of Chex Quest, which was a Doom mod.
Which they re-released. They made a new version of it. Chex Quest HD. It just came out.
That's great.
There are some funny mascot ones. There was a Chester Cheetah Cheetos game on Super Nintendo.
Very
and I played
bad.
it like start to finish. Yeah, it was terrible.
It's a terrible
very bad
game.
Yeah, there's just a whole history of like and then of course there's good games like Sneak King, right? There's those advertisements.
I was going to bring those up. Yeah, I mean that good should be in quotes there probably. Isn't it?
They were for $6 at the time. It was pretty cool.
King's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
I played it recently.
The other Burger King games probably weren't as great, and there was also like a Doritos free racing game that was available through Xbox Live, I think.
Oh yeah, and there was a Toyota Yaris racing game.
Yes,
it's terrible.
Real bad.
But when you can get a free game on Xbox Live, then that was like novel. Like so many people got that. Like,
that's why I downloaded it. I was like, oh my god, they're giving you a game for free. Holy cow!
Yeah.
It's
smart,
man. I love the last generation of games. The 360 generation is so good.
Yeah, it's about to be the second to last generation of games.
I know. Okay, one more email. This is Joaquin from Mexico. Says, first of all, let me thank you. I've been a Hey listener for the last 4 years, and since then, GameScoop has been my go-to podcast while I clean the house.
Nice.
Lately, I've been pondering buying a new console, and this is a huge deal for me. I am an avid Nintendo gamer, not because I hate other consoles, but because growing up, money was limited, and I decided to stick with Nintendo, even years after I finished college and started working and moved out from my home. Last year, I played Witcher 3 on Switch, and I really liked it. In fact, I like it so much, I started wondering if I should buy another console. I thought an Xbox was a good choice because of Game Pass, but after the most recent presentation, I don't feel attracted to the exclusives. I think I'm leaning towards buying a PS4 so I can experience a lot of games that over the years have piqued my interest, such as Death Stranding, Last of Us, and Red Dead Redemption 2, and most recently, Ghosts of Tsushima. So my question is, should I buy a PS4 or maybe wait to get a PS5?
Interesting question.
I have an obvious answer: is you should
Oh.
wait because you can't even buy a PlayStation 4. They're sold out everywhere.
I've been noticing that.
That's crazy.
I
Is that
did a little
true?
search. I
Yeah.
did a little search. You at least can't find any of those good bundles anymore.
What about a
No.
launch
Yeah.
one?
You might be able to find a used launch play if you want to download your games at like a maximum of 2 megabits per second. But
They're not as hard to find as like a Switch, but like they're not. You can't walk into a store and buy a PS4 very many places.
yeah, and if you want a PS4 Pro, forget it. Those are
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
the thing about the PS5 is how backwards compatible is it, right? So, if he's been exclusively a Nintendo gamer, if you get an Xbox, you're guaranteed to be able to play that entire back library of Xbox games, right? Because they're very, very buttoned up and, and they have Game Pass. But with PS5, I don't want to misspeak. I'm actually not sure what their commitment to PS4 backwards compatibility is.
Mhm.
At
Wait,
first,
so-
they said the top 100
Top
most
100 games.
most popular games are going to be playable, and then after that, they said eventually,
Yeah.
almost everything will be playable on it.
Okay, fair enough. So, that's a consideration too, where like you're not just playing like this new generation of games, you're trying to play, catch up on an entire library of
Mhm.
that's like so exciting, that's so cool. Like I've never played a Halo, I've never played an Uncharted, to go back through all of those.
oh yeah.
That's making them, if you haven't played a lot of, if so many of these are cross-platform, then like that's when the subscription service in an Xbox sounds really good, right? Because
Yeah.
you're going to save so much just going through all those games.
He could also
But it might not include the games you want to play.
he could also build or buy a PC, and then
Yeah.
he would get PC games and Xbox games.
And cross save with The Witcher 3 because it saves on your Switch and crosses over to your PC.
Ooh.
That'd be a good
Yeah.
jump to make, but that's a really expensive version of.
Oh, it's not so bad. IGN deals on Twitter are always
I don't
throwing
know.
those good prices at you.
Yeah, I think I used PS4 to play things like the games he mentioned, plus like Metal Gear Solid 5 that we mentioned earlier and stuff would be really fun.
Yeah. I think the end of generation, we've talked about this before, is such a fun time to get a console. Like just you
Yes.
have a plethora of dozens of games, and they all are so cheap that they just rain from the sky. It's a really great feeling.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. These games that he's mentioning, I'm expecting all of them to be backwards compatible on PS5. So, like, with the lack of any sort of good deal on a PS4 right now, you're only like 3 months away.
Yeah.
Maybe just
I'd hold
wait
out.
for PS5.
There's plenty to play on Switch. I mean, there's nothing new to play, but it's still good old stuff.
On October 13th, you can play G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Wait, when does Pikmin come out? Are they going head to head?
Pikmin comes out October 30th.
Okay. Plenty of time to get through G.I. Joe.
I feel like putting out a port of Pikmin right now would have been a really good move.
Right?
Yeah.
They just put out Paper
Couple
Mario.
months. I know, but like
This last
people are
one.
starting to finish up Paper Mario, and
Yeah.
Pikmin seems like a good game to throw people after Animal Crossing, like Paper Mario was. But gotta wait now.
Yeah. If I were if I were a first party game company, I would try to have a new game every month that we put out. That'd be my goal.
It's that easy.
I would try.
I would target the summer. I feel like every time there's like good summer games that everybody's playing at once, like, they get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And that brings us to video game 20 questions. Our
Oh my
suggestion
goodness.
this week comes from Nikita. A one word name, just Nikita. Let the questioning begin.
Seth, are you in this to win?
Is that one of our questions? Because I don't want to. Yeah, of course. I'm always
No.
in it to win it.
Okay.
I mean,
I just want to
the-
know how jokey we're gonna get.
Yeah, the answer is I don't think Sam and I are particularly in this to win at this point in the year 2020 and year 6 of 20 questions.
I don't know how I can go downstairs and face my children if we don't.
Okay, no, that's good to know.
No, I'm just.
All right.
I
So-
love getting the 20 questions. If we can
Does
get
your
it on
character have
question
more than
20,
4
that's the best.
Okay. All right, why don't you just kick it off then, Seth?
Oh, was this game made before 1999?
No.
He is in it to win it. So now we got 2000 included.
Yeah. And
It's not a
and-
square console
No.
cutoff.
we have 1999 included.
That's right. That's right. All right. Good start. Should we ask if it came out after 2003?
We got to start rephrasing that question.
Well, no, I think we should just let Seth keep going here.
Okay.
I don't.
No, I'm just kidding. You can ask what
I wait till like 2 more questions have been asked so I can formulate my next one.
Okay.
Was this game exclusive to one platform when it released?
No.
I just want to ask if it's exclusive to 2 platforms now. What so this is from after the year 1998. That's what we established, right?
Yes.
Okay. Does this have did this come out on a compact disc based media?
Yes.
Did this game come out on the current generation of consoles?
No.
Originally.
No.
And when you say compact disc, that excludes Blu-ray and DVD.
No, this is a disc. It's
Just a disc.
We're just talking about a disc.
It excludes bigger discs. It's a compact disc.
Oh, so it's not a laser disc. It's
Yeah,
not
right.
No,
Dragon's
it's not a
Lair.
laser. It's not a video disc. It's not a an LP. It's a compact disc. Those are
Dragon's Lair
inconvenient
Eliminated.
discs.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So is this from the Xbox 360 generation?
No. That's
God damn
5.
What? So what does that mean? That means OG Xbox and GameCube and PS2 are all we're left with.
No, it could be this.
We asked this.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Was this game developed in the United States?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Could be Canada. Was this on GameCube? It's available on GameCube.
No.
Okay.
7.
Was it on PS2?
Yes.
Okay, good. Man, it's so much easier for me to know the GameCube library than the Xbox PS2 library. But it's probably PS2 PC or PS2 Xbox. Was this a... Oh, you guys can ask questions, sorry.
It's on PS2.
Is the developer still in business?
No.
Oh.
Would you call this a violent game?
Cartoonishly. That's 10.
Cartoonishly violent on PlayStation 2.
If there were a trigger warning, it would be for cartoonish violence.
Is this based on a license?
No.
Buh.
Do you shoot things with guns in this game?
Yes.
Cartoonishly.
Maybe it's a
Could be-
Ratchet and Clank game.
Could be. They're still in business. It could be Time Splitters.
Mm.
Is this
really weird?
Is this a first person shooting game?
No.
Okay, can't be Time Splitters.
Shooting violent. Is it a 3D game?
Yes.
Okay.
Whew, we're in trouble on this one.
Are there like is a focus of this game multiplayer?
No. That's 15.
Okay, that's good. That illuminates.
But we don't like. It could be like. It doesn't have to be like there weren't that many third-person shooters back then. Like it probably is something more Ratchet and Clank like.
Yeah,
like platforming.
third person, run around, shoot crap. But it's on multiple systems, so maybe it's Destroy All Humans.
Yeah, Destroy All Humans is a good guess. I don't know who the original developer was.
IDOS.
Well,
I just default to IDOS.
they published it. I think it was a developer that made like Mercenaries, which it's oddly been coming up on this show the last few weeks.
Yeah, but it could be like maybe we need to ask if it's militaristic then.
Do you play as a human?
No.
Could
I wonder if
be
you destroy them.
It could be Destroy All Humans. So wait, okay, so you don't play as a human, but Damon, does the game take place on Earth?
Yes.
I think you got it, Sam.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, I think also THQ did Destroy All Humans, right?
I don't know.
Yes.
I think that would be right. Now that I think about
Is the object of the game to destroy all humans?
Yes.
I bet.
Seth,
You know
Seth,
what?
Do it.
What is it? Destroy all humans?
Yes, it is Destroy All Humans. Nicely job.
I think the developer is Pandemic.
Yeah. The developer
Right?
is Pandemic, which
So
they're
who
not in
published
business
it?
anymore. It was THQ who published it.
Okay. Yes.
But it makes me wonder what
Yeah, it took a while for me to get to.
if the developer Pandemic were still around today, it'd be a little
Oh,
like,
boy.
"Ugh,
Yeah.
can't put out
But
any
also-
games for a while.
Also, they just put out a game about destroying all humans, and that's what the Pandemic's doing. So,
That's a good
I mean,
point.
let's be honest here.
It's true.
It doesn't matter how it's happening. Is this really the time to talk about destroying all humans?
They got bought by EA, and then EA
Yeah.
shuttered them, which is EA has a history of doing that to developers.
Yeah.
That game seems like really. You know what's funny? I was looking in the strategy guide, that our old strategy guide for that game, just to see like what needed to be cleaned up and stuff. And I remember that game being like kind of sharp and like looking really good. Like that game was so grainy and muddy 3D.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy to see PS2 open world games now. I mean, you guys have seen GTA 3 since then. It's really funny looking.
Everybody's memories of 3D games from that era are not like the HD remake looks the way you remember it looking in your mind because you were playing it on a really tiny, crappy television.
And the connectors
Yeah.
are just bad, right? So
Yep.
like even our screenshots from IGN at the time were like done through an RCA cable. There was an HDMI. Like that's crazy, you know? Like there is component if you were lucky, and that's still like not a great signal. People use S video.
Like, sometimes like the polygon counts and the frame rates and some of that stuff is usually like okay.
Yeah.
But then the whole thing's running just at like 320p. That's the problem.
Yep.
Destroy All Humans was on PS2 and Xbox. So yes, Sam, it was exclusive to 2 platforms.
It wasn't on PC, huh?
No.
Oh no. That's great. Was it exclusive to 2 platforms? All right, we got that on our belt now.
Yeah.
Did this come out before 1996?
Okay, thank you for the suggestion, Nikita. Listeners and viewers, if you have your own suggestions for 20 questions, send them to me at gamescoop@ign.com, and that is all the scoops that we have for you this week. Seth, thanks for stepping in for Tina this week.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Thank you to Justin. Thank you to Sam. Thank you to Borba, working behind the scenes. My name is Damon. This is IGN Game Scoop, and we're out.
Hey Seth, what's the skull behind you?
That is a Beisel, just a Halloween decoration.
I have
ISTLE.
We had something just like that when I was a kid.
They're like the classic Halloween decoration. Actually, Creepy Company had a licensed agreement with them too. I think I have a shirt that's like.
I have
Cool.
like a puffy sticker set with that skull in it, and it has a bunch of others like from that company. And then I have these ghosts when I was a kid that glow. They glow in the dark. That were from that. And I recently got a great in the bag still, like from the flea market, like recently before pandemic, a big cool neon spider.
Oh, cool!
It's from that company.
Yeah, you should check out the Creepy Company's collection.
Yeah, I miss puffy stickers.
Yeah, they're great. I also have Alf puffy stickers.
Do they not make puffy stickers anymore?
They do.
Why would they?
Extremely tough.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they do because they make everything. But like, my daughters are sticker connoisseurs, and like, they're not